family. So my due date is approaching and I'm definitely starting to think about birth and that's coming up. Kind of scary. I'm especially scared for this birth because I had a C-section with Collette and I just had a horrible experience when she was born. Her birth did not go as planned at all. She was 7 weeks early and I saw her for maybe a total of 10 minutes on her birthday. She was transported to another hospital and it wasn't until 2 days later that I really got to hold her for the first time and meet her and change her diaper and feed her. And not only that, I just don't love the way I was treated throughout the whole process. Didn't love the hospital I was at, did not like my doctor. So I'm really hoping that this birth goes differently. With her being a preterm C-section, it does make this birth a lot more complicated and definitely not your normal pregnancy or birth. It just adds a whole another level of complications to things. Basically, after you have a C-section with one of your kids, with your next pregnancy, you get to kind of decide if you want to go ahead and just have another C-section, get that baby out, and call it a day. But the thing with that is the more C-sections you have, the more risky each one gets. And I definitely plan on having more kids. This is not my last kid. So I'm going to be trying to have a VBAC, which stands for vaginal birth after C-section. That's what they call when you choose to have a vaginal birth. However, there is some risk involved with that, and it's not very common for things to go wrong, but if they do go wrong, it is very catastrophic and dangerous. So it was a really hard decision for me to make, but I'm very confident in my decision and really hopeful for my vaginal birth to go as planned. When I had Collette, I felt like I had such little control over the situation. That's just kind of how birth is, and that's just something that I need to accept. But specifically with that situation and how it played out, a large part of that was just my doctors not informing me correctly and me going in there not knowing what my wants and needs are. I thought I had a lot more time to kind of figure that out. I still had 2 months of my pregnancy to go, but you know, she just came and I just kind of went along with whatever the doctors told me. And now looking back, I wish I would have spoken up more and said what I wanted for my birth. So I decided to write up a birth plan, which is basically just writing down my ideal birth and most importantly, what I want the doctors to know going into it about my preferences. Some of these things might just have to change last minute, and I'm totally okay with that. It really just depends on the situation and what my doctor thinks is best. And if it doesn't go all accordingly to my plan, then, you know, it is what it is. And as long as my baby comes out safe and healthy. But there is certain things that I can kind of request as far as how I want my treatment to go. So let's get into it. Here is my birth plan. The first thing is that I would like to be included and informed on every decision made regarding my care. With Collette, things just kind of happened. So much was happening at once, and there was points where I was getting my blood drawn or people were putting things in my IV, and I didn't feel like I had a full understanding of what and why. And to have people doing things to your body when you don't really understand the purpose, it's really frustrating and scary. So I want them to know to explain everything to me. And I understand that some people don't want that. They're just like, okay, go with the flow, whatever happens, happens, do what you need to me. And I really thought that that's how I would feel about the situation. When I was pregnant with Collette, I didn't really have much of a birth plan, and I was really uneducated about the whole birth process in general. I was just 16, so I was just going into it with the mindset of the doctors know best and they'll do whatever they need to do. But in the moment, I was terrified. And I think having that knowledge about why they're doing the things they're doing would make me feel a lot better about things. As far as who I want in the room, it is going to be Landon and my aunt. Landon was not there for my last birth, so I'm really excited for him to be there and support me. I'm definitely one that does better under stress. That's kind of why our relationship balances out. When there's a stressful situation, I'm the one calming him down. So I'm kind of nervous, but I think since I'll be in so much pain, he'll realize that he has to just kind of toughen up and be the strong one. And then my aunt is going to be there as well. Videoing the birth is something that is really important to me. I wasn't able to video Colette's birth. I really wanted to, but everything happened so fast. I didn't even know I was going to have the baby when I went to the hospital, and then 3 hours later she was born. And I'm really sad that I don't have that footage to look back on. So she's there to take pictures and video. I'm only allowed to have 2 people in the room as far as her delivery, and then as far as kind of after the delivery, after she's actually born, I'm going to have my sister in there as well to support me and of course meet baby girl for the first time. And then later on, after I've had some time to recover, Collette will come to the hospital with my uncle who's going to be watching her, and she's going to meet her baby sister. I'm really excited for that. I'd like to be able to walk around as I please, especially kind of in the earlier stages of labor. I dilated really fast with Collette, so I'm kind of expecting that to happen this time. My plan is for this to go as fast as possible, because I feel like the faster it goes, the less likely it'll be that I need an epidural. So I want to encourage my body to dilate by walking around and being active. I would like to be able to play my own music during my labor process. I have a playlist on my phone of just calm, relaxing music. Music is something that is really important to me, and I've always just been a lover of music. It's always been something that has calmed me down when I'm stressed out or when I'm dealing with anything. So I picked songs that were meaningful to me, and I feel like in the moment it would be a great distraction. I would prefer to keep the number of vaginal exams to a minimum, meaning I don't want them constantly telling me how dilated I am. Being told that I'm only at like a 4 when I feel like I'm at a 7 would be really discouraging and not something I want to hear, because I feel like that's going to be the thing that makes me give in to having an epidural. If my labor's not progressing, I would like them to break my water before using Pitocin or other methods to kind of make things go faster. I'd like to use as little drugs as possible with this birth. So adding Pitocin into the equation is not something that I want to be the first resort. I know that pain medication exists, and I'll ask for it when I need it. Please do not ask my pain scale. I want to wait as long as I can before getting an epidural, and if possible, to not get an epidural at all. I definitely want it available if I need it and ask for it, but I don't want it to be something that's like, do you want an epidural now? Do you want an epidural now? How are you feeling? What's your pain? I really just want to push myself and see how long I can go before asking for it. I never really felt a contraction with Collette, and while they are painful, I hear, it is something I want to experience with this birth. Like I said, I dilated very fast with Collette, and it just happened in a matter of hours. So I can see if this labor goes very fast as well, then I probably won't end up getting one. Because 1, I won't have time. They usually won't give you one once you pass a certain point. And secondly, just having the mindset of like, okay, I'm progressing really fast and it's going to be over soon enough. I think that more than anything will get me through the pain, knowing that it will come to an end. But if I'm progressing super duper slow and just wearing myself out and exhausted and in a lot of pain, I can definitely see myself wanting an epidural, and that's okay. I'm definitely not against it. I just want to push myself as much as I can. But if I decide that it's better for me to save my energy for pushing, then that's what I'm gonna do. But I want to be able to have that option and voice when I'm ready for that, and not have it shoved in my face all the time, tempting me. Even if I'm fully dilated, I would prefer to wait until I feel the urge to push to begin the pushing phase. I've never pushed out a baby before, so I don't really know what the urge to push feels like. But if I'm not feeling the urge to push, I definitely don't want to push. As long as it's not a dire situation, I definitely want to wait until that urge comes. I would like to be able to choose the position that I give birth in. Most likely, I'm going to want to do the traditional, But if in the moment I decide I want to squat down or do something different, then I want to have that decision. I would like to be directed when to push. I've never pushed before, so I definitely don't know what I'm doing. I haven't decided if I'm gonna take a birth class yet. And if I do, I might feel like I know what I'm doing more, but I would definitely like the doctors to kind of tell me how far out she is and if she's crowning and if I need to like, okay, stop, and when to push and when not to push. I don't want to do it too fast and tear. So yeah, I would definitely like their help on that front. And that kind of ties into the next thing. I would definitely like a mirror. I feel like a lot of people don't really like to see what's going on down there, but I really think it would help me to push and to know what my body's doing. And I'm really not scared to see it. I don't think Landon is either. I think it'll help. So yeah, I definitely want a mirror. I would not like an episiotomy unless medically necessary. Unless the doctors feel that this needs to happen for the baby to come out. And if you don't know, an episiotomy is basically when they cut your womanly opening open to make it even bigger for the baby to be able to come out. That does not sound fun. I don't want that. I feel like if I tear, I tear, but for them to get a scalpel and cut down there does not sound like something I want. I would like to have the room be as quiet as possible when the baby's born. I don't want like a ton of doctors and nurses like yelling at me and a ton going on. I just want it to be calm and really just focus on the moment and me and Landon and not so much what's going on around me. Even if there is a ton of chatter going on, I feel like I'm not even really going to pay attention to it anyways. But I don't want people asking me like, oh, did you know it was a girl or blah blah blah, and like making small talk while I'm trying to like meet my new baby, you know? I would like the baby to be placed on my chest immediately after she's born. Like I said with Collette, I got no skin to skin whatsoever with her until like a good 3 days after her birth. And obviously that was due to the circumstance and her being early. And this is kind of one of those things that depends on how the baby's doing. Obviously, if she's not breathing, I want that to be the #1 priority. But if it's a normal situation, then I do want her on my chest and I want to meet her right away. Unless absolutely necessary, I would like to avoid a C-section, and I would definitely like to be a part of that decision and why they feel like it's completely necessary and not just, okay, we need to do a C-section. And if it does need to happen, here's kind of how I'd like it to go. I would like Landon to be present during the whole process. You're only allowed to have one person in the room if you're having a C-section. And of course, I want that to be Landon. The one part he can't be there for, no one can be there for, is when they put the medicine in my back to make me all numb. But other than that, I want him there for every step of the way. This is something that I didn't get with Collette and I didn't even know was an option, but I would like the screen lowered when she actually comes out. When you have a C-section, they just have a big blanket kind of right here, so you can't really see what's going on down there because it's really bloody and scary. I'm not very squeamish though, and that's not really something that I care to not see. While they're like starting, I don't want to know like, okay, we've started, okay, we're doing this, because then I'll just get in my head and think about it too hard. But I do want to actually see her come out. With Collette, they're like, okay, she's out, and like I didn't really even get to see it. And then as far as after she's born, in the case of a C-section, the same things kind of apply about wanting her with me as soon as possible. I want to delay the cord cutting for a few minutes. Landon's gonna cut the cord, but I don't want him to do that until it is done pulsating and all of the blood is out of the cord and into the baby. There's a lot of benefits to this and definitely something I want to do. I do plan to breastfeed and would like to start that process soon after she's born, pretty much as soon as possible. Again, that's something I didn't get with Collette. I didn't even attempt to breastfeed her until a week after she was born, and it completely failed. If the baby's not doing great and has to go to the NICU, I would definitely like me and Landon to accompany her there, and I do plan on pumping my breast milk for them to give her. When I had Collette, they just gave her formula and no one ever asked me about it. They just did it and I didn't really have a choice. I was pumping breast milk, but like I said, I was in another hospital 2 hours away. But I really would prefer her not to have formula and to have my breast milk. I plan to feed her on a schedule. With Collette, I pumped on a schedule of every 2 hours or so, and having a strict schedule really worked for me, and I feel like helped my milk supply a lot. I would like to meet with a lactation consultant. I had a lot of trouble breastfeeding Collette. I met with 2 separate lactation consultants, and it just never ended up happening. I pumped for 3 to 4 months after she was born. Pumping was really hard, and eventually I just kind of gave up. My milk was drying up anyways, so it just didn't work out, and I was really bummed about it. So starting off on the right track with breastfeeding is something that is super duper important to me. Last but not least, probably the most important thing through this whole process that I want every single nurse and doctor to know is that I would not like anyone to bring up or mention my age. When I had Collette, I had multiple nurses tell me, oh, like you're so young. And that's kind of annoying anyways, regardless of the situation in public. No matter what, it's just not something that's like good to hear. Like not something I'm like, yeah, oh my gosh, like you notice. Like no. Even if it's like in a positive way, it's still something that I like, just don't want to hear when I'm trying to deal with contractions and delivery and latching and all of that. I had a nurse with Collette tell me like, oh, you're handling this really well for someone your age. And while it is kind of like a compliment and it wasn't necessarily rude, it's still something I just didn't really need to hear in that moment. And then my lactation consultant with Collette, oh my gosh. Every time she came and checked in on me, it was, you are so young. I can't believe you're so young. You're really young. And I just like don't understand the point. And I feel like I'm not the first person to ever walk into that hospital with a little baby face and, you know, my mom there with me. I'm not the first teen mom to ever exist. I just don't know why she kept bringing it up. So that's kind of my birth plan. Like I said, it depends on the circumstance and how serious it ends up being. If I have to have another emergency C-section and if she's super premature, a lot of these things will change. But I really hope to just be more informed during the whole process and just treated better overall. To finish this video off, here are a few of my mantras. Things I just kind of want to remind myself of as I'm dealing with painful contractions. The first one is probably my favorite one, and it's my body was made for this. And to just remind myself that I am a female and I was literally designed to give birth. God made my body the way he did in order for me to be able to make it through this and deliver this baby. And that's something that's really empowering and encouraging to me. And also reminding myself that this will not last forever. I'm not going to be in labor for the rest of my life. At some point, she will be born and it will be over. And it's all just temporary. And last but not least, remembering that every contraction brings me closer to meeting my baby girl. And I feel like knowing that and keeping that in mind will just make it feel so worth it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, Camille.